Right.
All right.
But
All right. So are we about to do? Are we about to do it?
Are we doing it?
Oh,
Is
we're
it time?
doing it. It is time. AJ,
Smash that motherfucking button.
AJ, it is time. The Arcade Fire stand has logged on, and
The day has come.
all right,
The time is here.
Let's get it.
With the
Let's get
welcome to the Thunderdome of takes. Jesus Christ. We are now going to discuss the 5th studio album from Montreal-sourced indie rock icons, the fabulous, the fantastic, the one, the only. There's a lot more than one of them. The Arcade Fire. They have unleashed everything now onto the world, following a marketing campaign for the album that a lot of people certainly had their own thoughts about, but now we are able to dissect the album, appreciate it on its own merits, and sort of judge it as a piece of music, hopefully, rather than the product of a lengthy and sometimes grating marketing campaign. I believe that we have nearly every point on the take spectrum represented on this podcast, and so we're just going to kind of jump right in and get our hands dirty and just kind of talk about what's happening on everything now.
Before we begin, let's all establish real quick our not our takes, but where we're at in terms of Arcade Fire stand-up prior to everything now.
Okay. You get. Okay. So this is what we'll do. We'll do this. You get one sentence to talk about Arcade Fire as a band, and then we will do one sentence reviews of everything now, and we will go from there.
Okay, AJ.
So
AJ, you start off.
Speak tactfully.
Okay, AJ, do you?
No. AJ is last.
Okay,
I'll do my Arcade Fire take first. I will do my Everything Now take last. So we will cycle around. We will come full circle. So I will start by saying that Arcade Fire are my favorite band of all time, and Funeral is the greatest album ever made.
All right, I'll go next. Funeral in the Suburbs are the greatest albums ever. That is my Arcade Fire take.
I mean, I don't think I am as huge of a stan as AJ, but they are also, I would consider them one of my favorite bands of all time, and first 3 albums are 10s.
I barely listened to them, but I like them. That's it. I mean, I did listen to the full Discog today, but we'll get to that later.
Matty, let's get your one sentence Everything Now take.
Really gets grating in the midsection, but the beginning and the end are pretty decent.
All right, I will say pretty okay and / good in general, but bad in the context of Arcade Fire's discography.
My take is wow. Wow.
That's certainly a short sentence.
Wow.
My take is this is my favorite album of the year so far, and I think it's genius.
There we have it, folks.
There it is.
Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, that's nasty. That is a
okay.
That is a
stinky thing to start on.
Before we tack all of your points.
Yeah, here's the thing. I always knew I was going to like this album. I enjoyed all 4 of the singles. I liked the direction that they were taking. They're making pop music now. There's no like pretensions of it trying to be indie rock or like that sort of genre.
It's pretentious about everything else.
Well, Reflector had those moments where it like sort of dipped into kind of other genres sort of, and that always rubbed me the wrong way about Reflector, whereas Everything Now was just very much like people say they doubled down on the whole like disco direction, and I can see that to a point, but it's really more just like a refinement of their going just straight up like pop now. And I liked the sound on all of the singles. I thought they were groovy as hell. And so I said, like, I like 4 of the songs I've heard on this album. I don't think I'm going to come out of this album like thinking it's a disaster or thinking like Arcade Fire have fallen off essentially. So I always knew that I was going to like this album. I did not expect that, like, from the first listen I was going to love it so much, have so much fun with it, and find like very kind of insightful and surprising moments on the album that I wasn't expecting from Arcade Fire. And a lot of the things that people use as complaints against the album, I sort of understand why people wouldn't like that, but I think, like, in context of the whole project, they make sense. And I honestly don't actively dislike any of the songs on here, which is more than I can say about Reflector, for example.
What's your worst take about that is that you actively dislike We Exist.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
We Exist is a good song. Are you kidding
No,
me?
not We Exist.
Yeah, no, hell yeah, Matty.
Normal Person.
Yeah.
I dislike Flashbulb Eye's Normal Person for, you already know, kind of enjoy.
So you're telling me that you think that Chemistry is a better song than Normal Person?
Oh.
I think I can enjoy Chemistry more than Normal Person.
Okay. Before we get into into the non-singles, let's try our best to, like, discuss, like, in real time what we were thinking about the singles, like, as they were rolling out. So I'll start.
Well,
so let me start. Okay, so Everything Now. I thought Everything Now was a great single. I thought that was a really great song. Was like, hey, this is like nice little, sort of like 70s, dance throwback a little bit. I'm really digging this.
Pan Flute Defense Force.
Exactly, the flute is great, and just again, it's like, oh, whose mic is like scratching? Who's like scratching their mic right now?
Probably me.
But yeah, Everything Now was a great single. Creature Comfort, also a really good single. Was like, oh, hey, I actually might really like this Arcade Fire album. Signs of Life, a little iffy on it. It kind of, with each listen, my opinions vary with each listen, because there's some times where I'm feeling it, other times where I'm like, eh. And then Electric Blue is all, it's just like Will's attempting to ruin my takes. But everything Blue is also really good. I would say that I really dug 3 out of the 4 singles and 4 on a good day. So, but
yeah, I guess I'll just kind of piggyback off of what you did, because I was gonna say a good thing to start on would be the title track, Everything Now, because I feel like that's the least divisive track on the album. I think most people can kind of agree that that's
it's good.
That's a great song, regardless of it's just got that like ABBA channel disco. It's I don't know. It sounds like something you might find on Reflector, but and then it's got this kind of motif lyrics that Arcade Fire always does about like technological alienation or whatever. Like, I don't know, they do it a lot, like We Used to Wait or like Neon Bible.
We're so connected, but are we even friends?
Except on this track it's supposed to be like ironic or something. I don't know, but if I'm just doing the rest of the singles, I think Creature Comfort's actually probably my favorite song on the album, just in general. I love the synth lead. I think it's really tight, and I really like Regine's backing vocals. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts, just like on the album. And what are the other ones? Signs of Life.
Yeah,
I think is okay. That's probably my least favorite of all the singles. I just think it's kind of maybe a little bit flat. And then Electric Blue is one of them that actually grew on me today, like in the last hour. I re-listened to Everything Now, and I liked Electric Blue a lot more than I had. It's definitely more, I don't know, it feels more like psychedelic than the other ones on here, a little like less disco-y. I could hear it being like a more synthy B-side from the Suburbs almost, if that makes sense. I don't think Regine's vocals are that annoying like some people have been saying. But other than that, outside of the singles, those are generally my favorite tracks on the album. The other ones I'm kind of hit or miss on, but I guess we can get into that later.
So Everything Now, it's a good song. I liked it all along, but it made me realize I'm going to hate this album, because I realized they're going to double down on everything they did on Reflector. And then Creature Comfort, I like the bass synth lead, but everything else is kind of but the synth lead kind of saves it. Signs of Life is mid as hell. Extremely mid. And then Electric Blue is my favorite MGMT song, in several years. So
Okay.
Right. You already kind of gave yours, AJ. So
yeah. And also I want to plug before we do it. Actually, technically, I gave a live first listen reaction to this album on Twitter. Check it out. There's going to be a link in the bio to this.
Fuck off.
Link in the bio.
Here's the thing,
first reaction.
There's a disclaimer that I like sort of gave, but like really need to give again. Outside of being the branded Arcade Fire stan that I am, my experience of this album is always going to be forever tainted by like seeing them live an hour before the like coming out of an Arcade Fire concert and then coming home and downloading this album. Like will have always tainted my experience of this album because like, you know, I literally just saw them. I saw the passion that they still bring when they perform live, and I was like, it's fucking Arcade Fire. Like, even if the music sounds different, like they are still the same band. They still mean, like, they genuinely mean everything that they are doing here. And when Win would like introduce some of the new songs, he would like apologize for the jokes, but not like, it wasn't like he was like, hey, like we did something really stupid. It was like, hey, like sorry that what we tried to do didn't really connect. And I think like their reactions on Twitter have been, I think like when an album gets as this is something we also haven't talked about. When an album gets as trashed as this one has, and this album has been relentlessly dragged online. That people were we talked about it earlier, but people were like waiting, eagerly anticipating the dunking on this album, and just tearing Arcade Fire apart. And I think people have been needlessly cruel in regards to this album, and the band has just sort of taken that like, hey, if you like it, like thanks approach, and not like it's for the fans, you don't get it, but just a sort of like, hey, we made the album, and if you enjoy it, thanks for listening. And so I like to see that. But circling back around, I do think that Arcade Fire genuinely believe in this album. I do think this is the album that they wanted to make, and the strange marketing campaign be damned, I do think their hearts were in the right places on this album, and it sort of puts into context some of the questionable things that they were doing, I think, at certain moments. So with all of that said, like when I got home, I started the album up again from the very beginning, and like it starts off with 3 of the singles you've already heard, and so I'm like, I know I like this stuff, and then listening to Creature Comfort, and I see Peter Pan up next on the track list, and I go, oh, this is the one that I was warned about. Like the old Reddit.com said Peter Pan is a train wreck of a song that should be avoided at all costs. So is this it? Is this where like where I find?
Didn't you listen to the leak?
No, I did not listen to the leak.
Okay, I thought you did, but
I tried to find it, but I couldn't, so I didn't.
Okay.
Because I'm a true stan till the day I die. And so Peter Pan comes on, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Like, this is kind of cute. It's silly. It's actually, I think, kind of good. There's a good like melody to it, and it's sort of funny. And they had played Chemistry live, so like I knew what to expect with that. But we'll talk a little bit more about Chemistry later. But people, I think, like misunderstand.
I want to get into that now.
Okay, let's just get into Chemistry then. So
yeah, the song is they tried electro polka on us. They tried to do
yes.
They tried to do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for reminding me so much. The only thing I tweeted after listening to this album for the first time was a picture of the cover of Wildflower, and I said 2.0. And I don't think a lot of people understood what I was saying there. But this album reminds me of Wildflower quite a bit, in that it's just this big, fun sort of like celebration that goes all over the place.
It's not fun though. They're like condescending the entire time.
I have a blast listening to this album. No, I think it's super fun. So Chemistry is like, people have basically deciphered for the most part that Chemistry is sort of a love song written from the perspective of like a corporation to a customer rather than like a romantic relationship, but still sort of presented in the same way. And that's pretty clear in the lyrics. And I do think Chemistry is probably the weakest song on the album, just by nature of the really simple songwriting and the like, go to the store, go to the bank, get some cash, buy some products. But I think
No, but the chorus though, you and me, we got chemistry. What the hell were they thinking? What were they thinking? What were they?
I mean,
what were
again,
they
they were making a song for their kid, obviously, like Win and Regine, and like let's
Yeah,
write a
child.
cute little song for our kid, and that's okay. Can we? Okay, so like one of the first when we made like the Everything Now like group chat on Skype to like discuss like well how are we going to approach this review. One of the first things that I think Dylan suggested this like whose fault is this? Which AJ, I mean. I mean, you can't because you're not like you're of course very positive. So, whose fault is this? Like who? Like I don't. Basically,
I have an answer.
Okay, so why is this album as like okay, not bad? Let's just say why is this album as divisive?
Why is it the way that it is?
I have an answer. I do have.
So
an
why
answer.
is it this way?
Okay, AJ, what is your answer?
No, what are you? I have the answer. So what are your guys' thoughts?
I'm going to make a bad joke real quick. I might censor this in post. But
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay. Basically, Everything Now is the best case for birth control since MTV 16 and Pregnant. It seems like the weird thing about this record. I'll give like my I don't really have like a whole lot to say. Like I thought. Well, actually. Like, before listening today, I was like, I probably don't have a whole lot to say. It'll probably just be, like, AJ and Will, like, fighting and me, like, trying to be the voice of reason. But now I actually have, like, some takes on this record, which is surprising. And my takes is that, like, yeah, as I said, the midsection is really, really hit or miss. Like, from Signs of Life
It's not hit or miss. It's just miss.
Okay, Will,
yeah, I was
going
to say, the Infinite Contents are probably my least favorite on the album, even more than Chemistry.
Okay,
I have to
really
agree.
could do without those.
Okay, let me continue. Okay, let me continue. So basically, from like Signs of Life to the Infinite Contents, that is really hit or miss, and that's where the midsection of the album pretty much is like it's real iffy. Like it gets really iffy. It picks back up. It doesn't really like fully pick back up until Put Your Money on Me, which is the best song on the album. Is that a? Can anyone get behind me on that one?
Actually, yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't agree with it, but I'll support it.
Okay,
Put Your Money on Me just clicked for me on my listen tonight. Like third and fourth listen, I finally get it. I don't know.
Put Your Money on Me is the greatest song ever made. That song is so good.
Put Your Money on Me, like it sounds like something that could easily you could easily slide that song into Reflector and it would not sound out of place at all, in my opinion.
No. Okay, I want to get back a little bit too. So you extended so Signs of Life and Creature Comfort I think are outside of this middle section that everyone has such a problem with that like it kills the album essentially. I think it's Peter Pan, Chemistry, Infinite Content, and then Infinite Content Part 2 that I think people like really have a problem with, and then if you like Electric Blue or not, it sort of falls to the wayside. But I don't think it should be included in there, especially because it was a single.
Those four
so
songs.
it's those four songs, which when you look at them amount to like less than 10 minutes. So again, there's if that's your problem with the album, there's much more good than bad on this album.
Well, my issue.
Well,
with,
that's implying the rest of the album is
the
good.
issue with the issue with the midsection is that like leading into it, it's a little iffy, and then leading out of it, it's still like a little iffy because like I said, I like Electric Blue. I like what's the song after Electric Blue? Let me check the track.
Good Goddamn.
Good Goddamn
is also
that song's not
good.
good.
But the problem with Electric Blue and Good Goddamn is that they're not good enough to forgive that midsection. It doesn't really get to Put Your Money on Me where it's like okay, I'm back in.
I guess why I'm the one who likes the album then is that the middle section I don't think is disastrous enough to derail my enjoyment of the album, because I guess I see the sort of argument that like if you're not loving the album by the time you hit that middle section, that sure as hell isn't going to convince you that you're going to like this album, and I can see how it would get laborious. But the thing about Chemistry is that every time I listen to Chemistry, I'm like, I shouldn't like this song. I should not think this is a good song. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, it's fun, it's catchy, it's kind of quirky, a sort of fun interlude. And then I go, okay, wait, no, it's bad. And then it's over. It ends. Every single time I start to question Chemistry, that like it just like it's the end of the song, and I go, oh, that song is like the perfect length. That song like it has just ended, and I was starting to not enjoy it. So I think Chemistry is fun. I enjoy it being on the album. And then
Chemistry sounds promising. Sorry, Will, but Chemistry, it starts off kind of promising. Like, because I remember when, like, my first listen, I'm like, oh, this isn't as bad as everyone's making it out to be. And then once I got to the end, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, this song is no for me.
Okay,
Here's
what it sounds like. It sounds like a mix of a Weird Al, like one of his polka things.
Yes, yeah.
But also Lou Reed's Mistrial.
Right.
His like rap album in the 80s.
Okay, here's the thing. Like Peter Pan and Chemistry, and the Infinite Contents, I guess. Like they made me laugh out loud the first time I heard them, but like not in a bad way of being like, haha, these songs are bad. Being like, this is like fun. I don't know. I think it's like and that's why I drew the parallel to Wildflower on this album, is because like I really have fun with this album. I think it's like super. I don't think it's as preachy as people are making it out to be, and we can talk a little bit later about some of the lyrics, but it's not like it's like I just think it's like super fun, and the Infinite Contents. Wait, no, I had one more thing I wanted to say about Chemistry.
That's the closest the album gets. The closest the album gets to preachy is the Infinite Contents, because.
Hold on.
Let's. Okay, can we?
Signs of Life exist.
Let me say my last thing about Chemistry. Let me say my last thing about Chemistry. Probably the funniest moment on the album, just like the most, I guess, like genuinely laughable, because it's sort of like purposefully lazy songwriting, is like the end of the sort of like last chorus where it's he's like, you haven't even got to know me yet, and then it's sort of just like he like spirals off of the melody, and it's like, but you're gonna love me, baby, when you get to know me, and like it doesn't match up with the instrumental at all, and it's just like this sort of horrible vocal delivery. I think that is so fucking hysterical every single time. It's just like this stupid, shitty line that's just like, it's fun. I don't know. I have fun with that.
Okay, I came with a good burn. Okay, so remember the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game when Butler started to try to talk about healthcare?
Yeah.
And Jake Steele cuts him off. Like, we're not trying to talk about politics. This album sounds like if she'd let him talk for 48 minutes.
How? No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
If she let him talk for 48 minutes, this is what she would have said.
I mean, here's the thing, Will. Okay, Will. Okay, they said that Indie Rock was dead, but Win Butler put up a double-double in last night's Celebrity All-Star Game. I mean,
oh god!
By the way, that is my favorite headline of 2017. Despite everything going on in politics right now, that's my favorite headline of the year. That's
2006. That's 2016.
No, it's 2017. I'm looking at the article right now. It's 2017.
He didn't play in the All-Star game this year. I didn't.
Yeah,
think.
he did. He did.
It was last year, and he retired after last year.
No, he did. Well, do you want me to? I will post the link in the chat. It was this year.
Yes, please, because I am insisting that did not happen.
Okay, let me get back to my who I blame, quote unquote, what happened with this album on. I blame us. I blame people who listen to Arcade Fire, people who discuss Arcade Fire, and people who write about Arcade Fire, because everything about this album is sort of like set up. It's sort of nudged to be this easy opportunity to just dunk all over the band, and like everyone just sort of jumped on the hook of being like, wow, this marketing campaign is just god awful. And it's like, a fucking course it is. Like the sort of base level commentary of the album is like, hey guys, did you know that consuming so much like media and so many products and all this like capitalistic wanton is sort of maybe not the best thing? And people sort of see that and go, oh, Arcade Fire think they can tackle capitalism with their next album. How dumb are they? And it's like, come on now. Like, have a little bit of sense. Have a little bit of sense when you're listening to this album, and maybe don't take everything at surface value when they're saying stuff like, we're infinitely content. Like, all of my money is spent on this infinite content. If you think that's sort of supposed to be this genuine insight that you're taking away from the album, you're a moron.
Here's my refute. You said like it's an easy target. You're right. It is an easy target. Like but the thing is that like they delivered though. Like Peter Pan sounds like a fart machine. Okay, that's what the thing is. Okay, it's one thing to write a bad song. You know, that's my belief that creativity cannot be forced. Sometimes you have to be in a time and place. So sometimes you just cannot write a good song. Bad songs happen. But there is no excuse for their major label debut, for the production quality on Peter Pan to sound so thin and horrible and farty. Okay? Like,
So
This should not sound like that.
I guess we can talk a little bit about the production now because I think
I actually because I did a deep. I mean, I listened to the whole Discog today, so I can definitely I kind of have I guess a fresh perspective on just the change in production quality. But I'll let you guys. I'll let the experts on the panel go at it first.
It sounds so. I mean, it shouldn't sound like that.
I mean, my problem is not really the production, but more in the songwriting and the instrumentation. I guess that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so,
those are
But
bad
I guess
too.
production
Don't
too.
get me wrong.
But basically, I think my issue is that there's times in this album, of course, everything now sounds fucking great. The band is all there. It just sounds amazing. Signs of Life. I like the production on Signs of Life. I like the instrumentation. I'm still a little iffy on I'm iffy on overall, but when I'm grooving with it, I'm grooving with it. But there's certain songs in
The
here
same.
But Creature Comfort production sounds so good on that.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna mention that too. But there's other times where even on songs that I like, it just feels kind of empty and kind of sterile at times, which is something that I don't expect from Arcade Fire. I think, of course, I think the first Infinitely Content, the punk rock version, is really one of the worst rock songs that I've heard all year. It is really boring.
Which one?
okay, but
the first
it's a
one.
minute and a half. It's a minute and a half long.
I don't care.
The second one is worse. That one is way worse.
Okay,
Arcade Fire thought they could do country, and they thought wrong.
Okay, I like that
so
one more,
wrong.
but they're both not good. They're both not good, but they're both not good for different reasons. Production-wise, the first one is worse, but the second one, I actually like the instrumentation, but it's just Win Butler is just the lyrics are just it's such a bad
It's the same lyrics. It's the exact same lyrics.
Win Butler has never been a poet. I don't think the lyrics on this album are particularly worse than any other Arcade Fire album. I think people take issue with just I guess kind of the way that they're delivered and kind of the way that the songs are arranged. And since that seems to be kind of a weak spot, I think people are focusing heavier on the lyrics and being a little more analytical than maybe they should be, given what they've always been doing. So I feel half the disappointment in general is just rooted.
If they'd given us
more
Neighborhood
delivery
number
than
3
lyrics.
instead of Chemistry, I would not be criticizing the lyrics. But they gave us a fucking electro polka song. Polka. So the point is that I'm not.
To round back on my point about I think put it simply, there's a certain vitality that this album just kind of lacks compared to previous Arcade Fire albums. It just seems obviously that happens with. Again, they've been around for half a decade or a decade and a half now. It happens, but there are certain times where, again, you do hear that vitality. You hear it in Creature Comfort. You hear it in Everything Now. You hear it in Put Your Money on Me. But there's other times where that vitality just simply is not there. And generally for an entire album, they've always been able to keep up that feeling of what we're making is essential to us. And there's times in this album where, again, like I said, AJ, you say that this album is fun, but I agree. I understand. I even agree to.
Well,
I think
the bad. You're sort of mirroring my realization of what made this album sort of so special and why I genuinely do think it's genius. So I'll hold off on that a little bit. But
no, I think you should go.
I think that
why is this album genius?
I think that the fun parts of it, or the parts that people say are bad, the parts that people infinite contents suck, chemistry sucks. I think those are fun sort of on purpose. But we were talking about Wynn's vocal delivery and the sort of lack of urgency in the album, and I think to me, when I listen to this, all of that seems purposeful and is this sort of I'm not saying it's bad on purpose because I don't think it's bad, but songs like Put Your Money on Me and We Don't Deserve Love are the sort of reveal the thesis of this album, as it were, which is just this sort of yeah, they're not going to make Funeral again, and they're not going to make Neon Bible again, and they're not going to make The Suburbs again, and how could they, and how could anyone even sort of try to do that? So I think that Wynn's refined vocal restrained vocal presentation, and the way that he delivers those lyrics on the back half of the album basically all through Electric Blue, I think it's just like this incredible streak of this sort of like come down from whatever the hell was happening in the first half of the album, and this like very just like sombering sort of meta commentary on the album itself and Arcade Fire and the band, because like it's impossible for Arcade Fire and whatever album they make, whatever this album ended up being, to sort of exist outside of that shadow of like their Arcade Fire. They made the greatest album of all time. They won the best album of the year Grammy. They are the champions of indie rock music. They are, with very good arguments case, like the biggest band in the world. And like, how are you going to make what a lot of people essentially sort of see as this mediocre album? And so Put Your Money on Me and We Don't Deserve Love are like genuinely, to me, very sombering songs where the instrumentation, I think, is working very well, with Wynn's kind of held back and like purposefully downtrodden vocals to the point where it's just sort of like, hey, I don't know, we are trying. How would you have made the sort of great Arcade Fire album in 2017?
Here's the thing.
I'm with you on this one, AJ.
Here's the thing, though.
I'm leaning negative. I'm with you in that, like, I don't think this album is like it being bad is, or not really it being bad, but it being like not up to snuff is not. It's not that big of a deal, because it's they've already proven themselves time and time again. Like, they don't need to prove themselves anymore.
Here's the thing, though. But you're saying that like, oh, well, like, why are we expecting them to make Neon Bible again? Or, like, I'm not expecting them to make that again, but I'm still expecting better than this. And that doesn't make it not mediocre album.
Right. Well, I'm not trying
just
to,
because like, they're saying, oh, like,
no,
we can't make Suburbs again. It's like, you're right, but you can make at least a decent album.
I can't convince anyone that this album sounds good. That's the one thing like I cannot win in an argument about, is that sort of like, hey, the album is good. There's no convincing it there. But what I'm saying is that there's sort of, in a way, I don't like the it's bad on purpose argument, and that's absolutely not what I'm doing here. But I do sort of think that like the moments of restraint on this album are meant to sort of bring this in your face, loud, like, marketing campaign sort of to full circle, where it's there's so much noise surrounding the album, like when you're not listening to the album, and then you sort of get to the point of the album at the end there, as it were, and it just sort of reveals that it's, I don't know. It's a comment on like artistry in 2017 and what it means to be like a part of this industry. And I really think I think this is a take that everyone should be able to agree with. No one else could have made this out. Like, this is only Arcade Fire could have made this album.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah,
and I think, to me personally, it's the only album Arcade Fire could have made in 2017. Like, I don't think that like there could have been stylistic shifts, or like that they had this big long expansive track list that they like kind of chopped down, and that like the way this album was put out into the world was like this big mistake, and that, oh, like we wish we could take it back. I genuinely believe that Arcade Fire like put out the album that they meant to put out, and I do think it's going to grow on people. I think like maybe even by year's end we're going to see more people being like, you know what, we dunked on that Arcade Fire album too hard.
That's something I disagree with. I do not think Tom's going to.
I agree with AJ on that. I'm with AJ that I do think that over time, like, once like the hype wears off, like once you get out of that mindset of like, oh, this is the new Arcade Fire album, I do think people are going, oh, this isn't as bad.
I think this is getting kind of a. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I think this is
Peter Pan and Chemistry will never. Those songs will never gain.
Right, but that's like standing. Sort of the point. That's sort of the point.
The point is that those are bad songs. Is that what you're saying?
Again, I don't think they're bad. I think they're fun diversions with purposes, and that like it doesn't have to be like, you know, I don't like. So there are songs that people do not enjoy on the record. Does that disqualify it as a record existing? I mean, there are good songs on the album too. There are plenty of good songs on bad albums. And Arcade Fire, this is a comment I saw in the sub somewhere that I really appreciated. So I won't talk shit about the sub this episode. I'll actually give him a little bit of praise, because the discussion thread for this album that went up like today or yesterday actually had lots of thoughtful commentary in it, outside of like, it's shit. Someone was saying that like at this point in your career, you are basically making albums to add like a song or two to your touring set list, and you don't really need to try anywhere outside of that. And Arcade Fire certainly could have just made an album where like the songs weren't meaningful in any way, and in some ways meaningful means like, what the fuck is this, which is Peter Pan and Chemistry and Infinite Content. Like those songs are fun with purposes, and whether or not you have fun with them, I think is sort of up to you. But I don't think they're just like, wow, these are like on the surface level just like bad songs that accomplish absolutely nothing. I think they accomplish something, and whether you enjoy listening to them or not.
I think Infinite Content accomplished this. I'll give you like, but I don't think Peter Pan or Chemistry accomplished anything. I don't think they're accomplishments.
I don't mind Peter Pan. I think Peter Pan, like, I don't get the hate for it. It's okay. It's an okay song.
It sounds like farts.
I don't care.
I genuinely love Peter Pan. I genuinely love Peter Pan. Like, I was shocked at how much I loved it.
Hang on, wait, hold on, let me confirm this. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Everything Nowco has liked our tweet announcing that we are recording an Indie Heads podcast tonight.
Oh wow!
So, don't listen to it. Yeah,
they are aware that we exist, but that's the breaking news. But anyways, yeah, Peter Pan. Here's the thing. I don't mind the part. Like, here's the thing. Like, buddy. Like, I guess. Listen to Alex. I mean, I've been getting into Alex Cameron a little bit lately, and like he uses kind of those like very like basic synth presets that sound like kind of shitty, but like they work. And so I guess that kind of prepped me a little bit, and like I don't mind the shitty sound. I guess
I don't want to talk about Peter Pan and Chemistry anymore, because I don't think those are
we've said
the like most, I don't think those are the most interesting parts of the album. It's sort of you like them or you don't. I've made my case for like why I think they're worthwhile songs, and like that maybe they're sort of bad on purpose, but I don't think they're bad songs.
I have two things to say that aren't related to Peter Pan and Chemistry. For one, I think I said this in the chat, but the first time I listened to the Infinite Contents for the first time, you know that thing where if you hear a word too many times, it starts to sound weird? That happened to me with the words infinite and the words content. The second thing I want to say is rate my take. The critical and fan reception of this album is similar to that of Painting With by Animal Collective in the year of our Lord, 2016.
Worse. It's much worse.
Yeah, I would say like it's like I can get behind that, but like it's like that, but like this is like on a much higher scale, and also the marketing campaign wasn't as like egregious.
It's worse because people are dunking on Arcade Fire harder.
And Arcade Fire,
they're a bigger target than Animal Collective.
I also think
Animal Collective are still a super hipster.
Yeah, I think the disparity between like quality of album and heat of takes is also way larger for this.
That's true, because Painting With is actually good.
Right.
I cannot be on this podcast with these takes.
That weakens your. Okay. Anyway, I want to get back to sort of this thing too, that there's a consistency to this album that wasn't present on Reflector, which I really appreciate. I think like the synth lines are sort of similar on basically every song, and there's actually this motif that repeats through. I think it's in Peter Pan a little bit. It's in Good Goddamn. It's in Put Your Money on Me and We Don't Deserve Love. And there's this sort of like warbling synth sound. If you're listening kind of close enough, you can sort of hear it. It's like this up down motif that kind of repeats a lot of times, and like it lends it this consistency that Reflector didn't have, which is like why I do think already that I like this album more than Reflector, and I had in my mind convinced myself that I liked Reflector more than The Suburbs, so I have to say that this is my third favorite Arcade Fire album. I have to.
That might be even worse than calling it your album of the year. Not saying that this is better than The Suburbs. That take is not allowed.
Look, yeah, even I'm not convinced of that take. That take frightens me, and I'm the one who said it. But like, if my order going in beforehand was like Suburbs last, Reflector, Neon Bible, Funeral tied at the top, and if I can say that I like this more than Reflector, I have to say I like it more than The Suburbs, which is fucked up, but you know, that's where we are. Welcome to Taste City.
Oh God, that is not good.
But what I really like, sort of, when I realized that, like, hey, this album is truly something special, is this idea that it loops back into itself, because the last
are you kidding me?
Yeah, here we go.
This is like the most. The tracks are literally called "Everything Now Continued," both of them. So
Yes,
like, oh my god,
but-
they loop into each other. That's so revolutionary.
But here's why. No. Not that they actually loop into each other, because they loop into each other kind of poorly. It just cuts out and then starts again. But the idea that they loop into each other is what really kind of hooks me here, because like, "We Don't Deserve Love" and "Put Your Money on Me" are easily the best songs of this album by far. They're like genuinely emotional, I think, moving songs, or they're almost there. You know what I mean? They're so close to, when you listen to those, you're like, oh, this is Arcade Fire. It's sort of so close. They're so close to this meaningful sound again. We're almost there, and especially if you didn't really like this album, if this album didn't really hook you, like it sort of has hooked me, you're like, oh, we're getting there, and then it just sort of starts over again, and you're like, we were so close to getting this kind of meaningful content. And I think that like the album was made in a way to purposefully make a lot of people hate it, in that was the commentary on itself, and like they have sort of positioned this album as an experiment and a meta text on what it means to be the biggest band in the world, and to make what many people would consider a bad album, even though it's not. But it's this like forced reflection on artistry that I am just obsessed with in every way. I think there's so many fascinating things happening on this album.
I think it's pretty okay. But
Should we like
I will
head
say,
ratings on this guy?
I'll say one genuinely nice thing about it is that I still don't know if I think I might prefer it over Reflector, simply because it is worse than Reflector. But Reflector is just a slog for me to get through. It's just so long. It's checking my watch the entire time. But Everything Now, it's a shorter album, and it feels even shorter than it is.
Absolutely.
It feels shorter than 48 minutes.
100%.
That's a very good thing about Everything Now.
That's because the questionable, I'm doing air quotes, which you can't see, the questionable songs in the middle are so brief that it like really brings the length, because like the end of this album is genuinely, I think, just like Reflector, some of the best stuff Arcade Fire has done. The singles at the front end are all fun and different enough to sort of keep you entertained while they're doing it. There's that interlude. I consider 5 through 8 one big interlude of just kind of like weird sonic experimentation, and it either gets you or it doesn't, but it's gone almost as soon as it starts. It's quick enough. I do think, this album is infinitely listenable, if I would, infinitely consumable. The loop helps in that, and I think the fact that like there are genuinely very good songs on this album helps with that, and that's why it's my album of the year, is because like I've been obsessed with it since it came out, and I can't stop listening to it, and I'm like, I shouldn't like this, I should find something I don't like about this, but I fucking cannot.
Yeah, I'll look at hard enough.
I guess final thoughts. I mean, prior to yesterday, I was like pretty like, it's okay. I don't know. I don't have much to say. But now, like, I've listened to it a couple times. I listened to all the Arcade Fire albums today, just so I can come in a bit prepared. And like, yeah, there's a jump in quality and a jump not really a jump, more of a dip in quality and a dip in just that feeling that this album just doesn't quite do it for me. There's still some very good songs here that really do like, that almost recreate that feeling like, oh, I'm really listening to an Arcade Fire album. But here it's like, but at the same time, it's like the stakes aren't that high for this album. Like it's not an album that has high stakes. Like Funeral, like obviously the stakes are fucking high. Neon Bible, Suburbs, Reflected to an extent, those stakes are high. But here it's like, the bands they've had they're getting older, they're kind of relaxing a bit more, wanting to just kind of have fun. They don't really need to like have to make this like really try hard artistic statement. It's more of let's just make the songs that we want to make, and there's some fun stuff. There's some fun stuff that can be added to the live set, and like for what that is, this album is fine. I can't get too upset about this album, pretty much.
But that's not what they did. I think there are genuinely daring things that they did on this album, and they are not.
I'll give you that they did. They were daring. On
yes,
this album.
Sure.
They definitely went there.
Yeah, they could have made like the boring. Would any of you call this album safe?
No.
Probably not. No.
And so I think there's merit to that, and I do think there's a lot of fascinating things happening on this album that people are overlooking because they're going, it's not Funeral, it's not Arcade Fire, why did they make a disco album? Which, like, if you don't like the sound of this album, that's fine. No one can ever convince you that, like, oh, you're wrong about how the album sounds. If you don't like the sounds of the album, that's up to you. But I think that, like, the takes that are going around of like Arcade Fire have completely lost their direction. I'm like, wow, this album is so senseless and so meaningless. And, like, the lyrics are insensitive and problematic and yada yada yada. I think like those takes are all genuinely wrong, and that there's a lot more happening on this album that people are giving it credit for, and people just aren't willing to give it credit for because they were ready to hate the album. And the album is like, it's sort of, this album is Arcade Fire playing 4-dimensional chess with the music industry, listeners, and the press.
Okay.
All right, AJ.
No.
Okay, AJ, you can't claim that about me because I like the singles. I was pretty on board with the album, pretty much. I liked all the singles
Matty,
quite a bit.
I did write in the chat. Matty's going to call this his favorite Arcade Fire album, and he's going to ruin all the credibility of this podcast.
I mean, again, you guys made that take, and it's not true because of that midsection. Because that midsection, I support your take that it's fun and it's them like not trying to like it's I guess some kind of like not purposely bad but not like it's hard. It basically just more of like them loosening up a little bit, not trying to like whatever it is. But yeah, that midsection really. I mean, it is short, but it's just like really not up to snuff. That it really does bring the album down overall. And yeah, but have we discussed? Oh yeah, we already discussed like what Infinite Content's the worst one. And I didn't really get to finish this, but like AJ, you like but it's so short. Like here's the thing with Infinite Content, the first one, it's a punk song. Like punk songs are fucking short. That's the point. So when it's not good off the bat, then it's not going to be good overall. And it's like, but just okay. Final overall, it's okay. I think like right now my feelings are kind of raw and like I'm kind of I'm stanced up a bit more about this album, but like by the end of the year, I'm like, oh, yeah, some good songs here to throw on some.
It's gonna put are you gonna have your top 10?
No, God no. My top 10's a lot. My top 10 is pretty clutch right now, so it's gonna take a lot to permeate that, and this album does not come close. Top 50 though, we'll see. We'll see top 50, but top 10
it might be in your top 50 albums you've listened to this year.
Possibly. It depends. It depends. Yeah. We'll see. Like I said, I do predict that I will warm up to this album towards the end of the year once the hype cycle dies down. Because that's happened before with a couple albums with me, where the hype cycle dies down and I enjoy it a bit. So that's my take. It's okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just okay.
There's so much wrong.
Okay, Will, just fucking... Okay, Will, throw your takes.
I've given all my takes. I mean, it's not...
Well, give your
singles, Everything Now is a great song. Creature Comfort has all the pieces of a great song and almost is a great song. And Put Your Money on Me is pretty good. Not great, but it's kind of like the same LCD sound system worship as Reflector. The rest of it can go inside my garbage bin.
Alrighty. Jake?
I guess my final thoughts, would be kind of similar to yours, Matty. I think that a lot of the songs here just like sonically kind of fall flat for me, but there's also like some really good songs. So it's probably my least favorite Arcade Fire album, but that's going to happen in a discography like that. So.
All right. I think that's.
I give it 1.5 Mike's Hards out of 4.
Ooh. I'm gonna give it. Let's see. Swing back to me on my head rating. Who's got a head rating?
My head rating is the picture I just posted. It's Regine's head, like fake cardboard head from when they toured Reflector. That's my head rating.
Mine is a head that is thoughtful and waiting. I will wait weeks. I will wait months. I'll wait 5 years. But when people come around to this album and realize that it deserved more credit than they gave it, I will be here saying
That's a SpongeBob narrator voice. 5 years later.
Everything now is the new Pinkerton.
I was the
There's
day
the
one
kick.
stan. I will defend everything. I will kill a man in defense of everything now if I have to.
See you at
I will
Pitchfork
be
next
here.
year.
Okay, hold on a second. I think I am genuinely this album's biggest fan on the planet. I think I am the person who likes this album the most.
You might be.
Every single human being on the planet.
Individual really likes it. Shouts out.
I will
These are
duel them. I
individual.
will duel them to the death.
There can only be one.
I mean, here's the thing with Individual. Like, AJ's given, like, really nice, like, really layered critiques. Individual will just write, like, fan fiction about the album. So, I mean, I'll take AJ. But anyways, okay, my head rating. I give it three NBA All-Star headbands out of 5.
And that's fine. That's good.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. But you know what? I mean, I'm not as invested in Radio. I was about to say Radiohead. I'm not as invested. I mean, that's also true with Radiohead a little bit, but I'm not as invested in Arcade Fire as like some of you guys are. So like, I don't. My personal stakes for this album are lower. Like, I don't really like if I didn't care for some of this stuff. It's not like I'm not gonna beat myself up for it. Like, oh, I gotta figure out the deeper meaning. I gotta figure like no. It's like I don't need to dig deeper than I've already dug. You know, except unless someone wants to pay me to dig deep in this record, which, hey, my PayPal, my email is mattymo22097@gmail.com. So if you want to pay me to do a deep analysis into everything now,
this is bad. This is bad for the clout, brother.
Or you can support our upcoming Patreon, which is coming out in 2020 ? So. You gotta wait on that, brother. But I think that's it. I think that's all we got.
AJ, do you predict it'll still be your album of the year by December?
I think there's a very good chance of that happening. Honestly,
I'm
right.
interested. I think AJ's gonna like. I think AJ's rating is going to put this album in our top 10 next year. I'm going to be like a little up at the end of the year. I'm going to be like,
no, there's not a goddamn chance. There's not a goddamn
I was going to
chance.
say, just get one more person on your side and both give it number one.
Squeeze it on there. Just knowing how things worked last year, here's the thing. All it takes is one person to get it number one, and then like maybe like one or two other people to put like slightly like high. Like basically, if it's in their top 10, you could get this in the top 10, AJ. Like,
I don't think this will be in anyone else's top 10.
I mean,
no, probably not.
I think it will have one appearance in our voting, and that will be me at number 1. So I think it will get 10 points.
So I want to hear the words. You think that Everything Now is a better album than Soft Sounds from Another Planet by Japanese Breakfast?
I think I enjoy Everything Now more.
Oh God, man, that's disgusting. That's just disgusting.
It's
Soft
spicy.
Soft Sounds is a hot number 3 though.
Wait,
no, what's number 2?
What's number 2?
Rocket's number 2.
Oh, okay. Hold on, wait, AJ. Hey, can we pedal back before we wrap up? Can we pedal back? So you said that this is your third favorite Arcade Fire album.
Unfortunately, I did say that. Yeah.
So I know like number 4, number 5 is Reflector. So like, what's the other one?
Neon Bible, The Suburbs?
So I'll just run it down for you. Funeral, Neon Bible, 10. Everything Now, 9. Reflector, 8.5. The Suburbs, 8. Those are that is my Arcade Fire take.
I think The Suburbs is my favorite Arcade Fire album. For my listening, that was the one that I enjoyed the most. But Neon Bible's up there. Neon Bible, when it's high, it's fucking like No Cars Go and the body is a cage, like baby. But yeah, that's about it for our podcast episode.